Okay, so here it is, and I tend to do that. I talk about one thing and never get to the point that I started out with because there's so much to be said. But regarding inspiration, um, so like I said, I feel inspired to pick up the guitar. I feel inspired now to learn how to play music, especially since I'm well aware of the fact that we all have a vibration, and and these vibrations, you can't see them, just like you can't see air in my poem. You know, you just got to breathe it to know that it's there. Well, science tells us, like, for example, in ultraviolet rays, okay, you think ultraviolet rays, it comes from the sun. Well, we can't see them, but they can damage our eyes. And I know this because I've read the stuff on the wall at the eye doctor's office. And there's different rays, and they have a different vibration. And I'm just going to say real quick that there was an experiment called the slit I don't know if it's a slit particle experiment, but they showed in this experiment that things can be understood. Light, for example, can be understood in different ways. It can be observed in different ways, like as a particle and also as a vibration or a wave. A wave is, a vibration that, like the wave on the ocean. Some are big, some are small, and they measure this stuff out. Ultraviolet ray, maybe a B gamma or C gamma wave or something. They have different vibrations, different waves, and it's phenomenal. It all comes from the sun, and it's not all the same thing. And anyway, so I just wanted to say, back to inspiration, that and Joseph Campbell said, follow your bliss, and enthusiasm. I was going to say the etymology is God's being filled with God's life. This is actually where the etymology from the word comes from, enthusiasm. And there's all kinds of mythologies and stories and writings that are in history throughout all over the world, and they speak to this matter of the invisible, and something that we can't really put our hands on because we can't see it. We can't like harness it like you would a horse to ride. It's a metaphysical experience, and but it's alive in every living thing, every human person has the receptors in their mind to be in touch with this. Animal has nature just like we have nature, and they do things by instinct, and they do things by their spirit. And people talk about sometimes the triumphs of the human spirit, because when faced with what seems to be impossible, we come out, we come through, like my Uncle Mike. Well, inspiration also has a lot of reference. The Bible, the Jewish and the Catholic and the Protestant mythologies from, and metaphors that point to see a poem or a metaphor can describe something in such a way that you understand, but it's by putting everything together, and then meaning unfolds. It's a symbol. It's not the reality, but it points to the reality. It's a symbol. It's like if you go to the restaurant and you look at the menu and you read the menu. Well, the menu of all the good stuff that they serve is not the real thing. The real thing is when you actually order something from the menu and get to taste it, get to eat it. Like, you wouldn't want to eat the menu. You want to eat the menu, you want the real thing. So I'm trying to tell you how to go after the real thing, and the real thing in your heart is what you have to pay attention to. You have to follow your bliss. You have to follow what makes you excited. When I was a kid, we used to go out and look for dinosaur footprints, because in Indiana, the flat ground, sometimes the mudded areas would turn crusty. You could even walk on them and the crust of mud would break. Well, we imagined that we seen dinosaur footprints out there, and of course, and my parents or nobody ever told me that there were no dinosaur footprints out there. So we kept looking. We kept looking, and we thought, oh man, that looks like one. And, we believed it was true. And it's like, Santa Claus. And, well, Santa is a myth that everybody believes in Santa. It doesn't have to be true. Literally, it is true in our hearts. The spirit of Santa is in our hearts. And but inspiration takes it takes form in our life, and then something is manifested, and that is the purpose of creation. It's a lot of the philosophers and Bible portray, and other mythologies too. I'm just been raised, and I know more particularly our tradition in the West here, and so, but they all point to this part of our being that propels us on, and it's inspiration. Now, I just want to say that in the records of ancient times, after Jesus Christ was born and died on the cross, and his disciples, after they went through living hell, full of despair, the vision for the satisfaction of their minds seemed to be destroyed. And at that time, they believed that Jesus was going to return. And so, things may have been embellished. If you tell somebody today that, well, like my mom actually fully believed in her heart, and even me for a long time in my life, that Jesus, actually rose from the dead, and then ascended up into heaven. Well, if you were to talk to somebody today and say, yeah, that guy ascended up into heaven, they think that you were way out there. But because, we go up, we've been all the way to the moon. Do you really think that, Jesus kept floating up and up and up, past the moon, past the stars, out of our galaxy, into a realm called heaven, somewhere that we've never explored, but has to be real, somewhere just beyond the stars? Well, I don't know really if that's the intended meaning. See, we have metaphor to guide us and to help us listen to the voice within, the inner still small voice. An inner voice came to me when I woke up. So, and it comes to me and it inspires me and inclines me to be a certain way and to do things a certain way and to practice piety. That's devotion to my learning and my understanding, and to make me a better person. And so we have to look inward, like Socrates said, the self-examined life is not worth living. Well, if you love your life and you believe that you're special and unique because you are, and you see things maybe slightly different than somebody else might see them, it came as a rude awakening to me when I realized that everybody didn't think like me. And we think differently throughout our lives. I'm not today who I was when I was in high school. I don't believe the same things I believed when I was in high school. I don't, but one of the things for me is it was liberating when I started thinking in terms of metaphor, because even the Apostle Paul said that, I mentioned the love chapter, though I have the tongues of, can I speak with the tongues of men and of angels and have not love? I am a sounding, clanging cymbal, smashing brass, I have not charity. I give my body to be burned and have not charity, I am nothing. And what that is saying is, you say, well, how can you give your body to be burned and have not charity or love? Why would you do that? Well, because it's an invisible thing. You can't really grab it. You can't. That's something that you can mold like clay. It's inside and it's elusive. And but it's our quest. We're wanderers and pilgrims. In this life, I was leading up to the point where as when I was a child, I spoke as a child. When I became a man, I put away childish things, and now we see in part. Now we see through a veil, darkly. There's a veil in front of us. It's called being human. Everybody has this veil, and the inspiration inside is seen, and maybe the angels, I'm not saying that they're invisible people, around us, but sometimes it seems like there are, you know. But maybe the angels. Well, I think they actually say that the angels watch us, and so that they can learn, the truths, the truths that are being manifested. How would you ever know what courage was if you didn't have adversity? And in life we have a lot of adversity. We're born to understand that life is adversity. Gravity, which is one of the first Newtonian laws, that things fall down and things disintegrate and things break down, like our bodies. Well, how would you know courage if you never had adversity? Because courage is inspiration to do what nobody has ever done before. Or if you're in a battle, like, I was. But I've always been in a battle. Everybody's been in a battle. We used to play King of the Mountain up in Wisconsin. And one person would be up there holding the fort, for himself. And anybody that tried to climb up that snowy mountain would be pushed down. But if they could take the other guy down, well, then they would be king of the mountain. We're inspired to go up. You get knocked down, you go back up again. You're going to take him down this time. You get knocked down again, you go back up. You don't give up. You keep going. You keep going because your heart tells you, no, I got to do this. So I'm just saying, don't ever give up on your inspiration. Keep it burning and alive, and follow your bliss, follow your enthusiasm, follow your excitement of what your spirit is telling you to do and to be, and how you can change the world one person at a time, one encounter at a time. You meet somebody at the gas station and they do something you don't like, no. You want to create a better world, don't start a fight because you have to protect your rights. No, well, anyway, the disciples being dejected, they gathered into the upper room, and they were up there assembled and praying. Never forsake prayer, because prayer and meditation are the ways, the pathways when they can't find a way. And sometimes sleeping will help you. But they were up there, and then in the biblical account recorded in the book of Acts, this is right after the Gospels, the first book. This is the second Advent. Not in my talking, it's the second Advent. And then the Holy Spirit descended on them, and they spoke in other tongues, it says. And the fire, I think in the second chapter of Acts, and I haven't looked a long time, but it makes reference to fire descending upon their heads. And early artists, I think, might have even put little pictures of fire on their heads, but that's a metaphor. It wasn't really a flame of fire on top of everybody's head, burning their hair off or nothing like that. But These are portrayals to depict a truth that you know is true, but you can't really, you know, you can't really put your hands on it. So I grew up as a Catholic to begin, and then my mom became a Christian, and I had epilepsy when I was a kid, from the time I was 5 years old till I was, I don't know, but I was in 3rd grade, and I was behind a year because the medicine made me fall asleep all the time in 1st grade, so I had to redo 1st grade. But my mom was filled with the Spirit at a Pentecostal church, and she spoke in tongues. This is what they advocate, and what they advocate becomes real. And then she had a vision that Jesus told her that I was healed, and she never gave me my medicine anymore. My dad thought she was a crazy fanatic now with religion, and I won't go into that story, but I never had any more seizures. So later on in life, I had a brain scan done, and they said, well, I still have epilepsy, but they said as long as you don't have any seizures, don't worry about it, because a lot of people have it and they don't even know it. Because it doesn't progress, it doesn't take your whole brain, it doesn't impact your whole brain so much. It's a littler wave. Our brains have waves in them, and some things never touch, but then they shoot messages from one part to the other. They shoot the message. They don't touch. They just shoot the message, and it comes on in waves, like the ocean. But anyway, I'm gonna tell you, okay? I wanted to be filled with the Spirit too, and it was a long time. Nothing ever came on me to make me speak in tongues or anything. But I fasted I didn't eat any food for, a week, and I did it a couple of times. And I fasted, I prayed, I read the Bible, I sought God to be filled with the Spirit. I wanted to be filled with the Spirit. But one day it came, and even though I don't make it a habit of speaking in tongues, I know how it came for me. And it came like this, okay? I was just trying to speak to God, and there are no words. And I just made up some words. And then my emotions rode upon those words, and I talked to God in a language that was only emotion. I had no words. I didn't know what I was thinking, but I can still do it today. See, I'll show you how. I can say, like, it might be the words that first came into my mind. I don't know, but I was there, eyes shut, and just decided to say, Shandarakambai. Shandarakambai. I don't know what Shandarakambai means. But I said it, and I felt something. Shandarakambai. 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 And then I don't know what I'm thinking. I'm not thinking anything. I'm calling out to God, and I feel something else, a new transition in emotion. And I go, Shandarakambai. And I'm, making this up right now, like as I go, because that's what we do. We make things, and it's a catharsis. It's a way of empty in your heart and your soul. And sometimes you have to do that by crying or laughing, or you can do it, and many have, by speaking in tongues. It's a practice that people learn. So, Shandarakambai, Mia, Mia, Mayapi, Mayapi Hamba. See? I don't know what Mayapi Hamba means, but I'm talking to God, my source. And Shagamba! Shagamba! What does that mean? Shagamba! Well, it must mean something. Well, it's just a little object lesson. See, the source of our life is in our hearts, and that's just another metaphor. Although they say now that your actual heart has its own brain built into the tissue, and then it resonates. And this is not fluff. This is not woo-woo. This is science. So things come full circle. And now the scientists are saying what the scientists are saying what the mystics had said a long time ago. Anyway, stay strong. And my friend Tim told me when I was learning how to kayak, paddle hard. As Bob Dylan said in a song, die with your boots on. You know, as a prayer, you know, let me die. Still walking in my boots, or whatever. Anyway, I hope this was inspirational for you. I'm out of time because this is the longest video I've ever done. Alright. And, you know, I just feel inspired and impelled to say right now that I love you. Alright. Bye.